We're going to get started. We got a lot of content in today. It looks like it is about 3:01 on the nose. But today we're going to talk about Ignite Session 6, Deliver Your Value Proposition, right? So are there any new participants to the Ignite courses, or has everybody here been on pretty much everything? Dante, no new participants? Okay, perfect. So we're just going to open it up. So welcome if you're new here. So before we start, who would like to share what they're kind of grateful for about the learning opportunity of Ignite? Like, what are some of the key things you've taken away? What have you learned? What are some things that have really helped you in your business?
I guess I'll go first. I would say I am thankful that we get to listen to Brett and you, Dan, and just like your perspective with someone who has experience. And then we get to like ask a lot of questions too. So
Excellent. Fantastic. Who else?
To touch base on the and going over just confirming some of the details that we put together.
Nobody else is learning anything? Come on. Full participation. We learn, we participate, we learn. What about what opportunities you see for yourself, right? What are opportunities you see for yourself? What are you excited about still? Because you guys all got into this business, right? Because you're pretty fired up about real estate. At least I think you did. I don't know. Some of you look fired up. The energy's a little funky in the room today. So what are opportunities you see for yourself right now? What are some things that are huge opportunities?
sorry, I think I'm just gonna add one more, but I think just to soak everything in right now, because I have like no experience in real estate. So just obviously looking at the models and the different steps that you guys have talked about has been very helpful.
And thanks, and never, ever, ever be sorry about participating, because when you're engaged, you pick up things, right? So sometimes I've been in rooms where it was, I'm raising my hand too much because I'm learning a lot, and that helps it stick, right? So as we go to that, so I appreciate your participation, Russell, I do. What about challenges? What are some challenges so far as you've been executing the things you're learning, and hopefully you've all been executing those? What are some of the challenges that you're encountering?
Um, I'd like to share some of my experiences, just like the basic procedural things that just gaps were missing. Like, for example, um, I know I talked with you, Dan, like on how to do a buyer agreement. I've never done one, and you said, hey, do it, and then send it over to me. How to kind of send it up, and then, make sure you're checking the right areas. I know that you guys do a lot of trainings on it, like on contracts and stuff like that, but because of COVID, things are a little bit limited. So
Sure.
just trying to get ahead of it and try to be adaptable during this environment. So those are some of the challenges I see. Just, transactions that we come across that we just don't know, and we just try to grab anybody we can to kind of, fill us with a little bit of a knowledge whenever we can get an opportunity.
And that's kind of a struggle, or that's something that you've been able to do, or that you feel you've been able to do?
I think it's a hit and miss. Sometimes I can, sometimes I can't. Sometimes, but I just think just being new is just a struggle in general. So I don't want to peg everything on. I always try to take responsibility first where it should be, which is me. And obviously, I don't know a lot of these things, so you have to figure it out.
Yeah.
Some things are, yeah, it's a hit and miss. So I think I would like a little bit, and this is just personally, I would like a little bit, some more training on like some of the contract stuff like we're actually gonna have to deal with. But everyone's at a different pace.
Mhm.
So I know that's gonna be kind of hard too, because not everyone's at the same, place, because everyone starts differently, so.
That's good. That's good. And do we know, like right now, we might not know the exact forms that we need, but does everybody
Mhm.
know that they can go into their zip forms and they can pull up? So there's a certain amount of stuff that we have time to do a lot of instruction on, right? Like the fundamentals to get you your business. Now, I know people don't like to learn this way all the time. They don't always like to um, learn it by going through it, right? Like learn it by going through it. Like let's start with getting the lead, then we get the lead, and then the next new problem, the next good problem comes. right? But we have access, like you can go into your RPA, you can go in and look at it, you can fill it out. You're not going to break anything. And it's not in legalese or anything like that. But when we even teach classes on contracts, just to answer you, Duke, we're teaching classes on contracts. We send over a property, you send over the RPA, and we say, okay, just go through the fields, because each field, it's so easy now. It used to be quadruplicate, right? And you had to press really hard because there were lots of copies to the agreement. But you can actually go into zip forms, and we'll show you guys how to do that if you haven't done it already. Pull up an RPA, which is the residential purchase agreement, and almost every form you need to submit a viable offer is in that folder.
Yeah.
So
I definitely noticed that. Yeah.
So they've made it simpler, and through the MLS, lots of zip form training, things like that. And if you'd like us to send that out to you as well, we can definitely do that. And we'll do contracts training. That's more of we want to focus on getting you guys productive, and then get the broker to teach contracts. And Mike's back now, and he's great. His contract class is great. Dale's is great. But they're tailored to something different. One's legalese, and one's going to be tailored to how to write a strong offer, right?
Yeah, and I totally want to take that statement with a caveat too, because I know that the main thing is just to get business too, and I know you guys have been great on getting us ramped up. So hopefully that came out correctly, because the real deal is obviously get business first and figure out how to do it later, because it's hard for the new agents, right? You got to eat before anything else.
Right. And I'd rather sit down for a few hours with an individual that's like, look, I've got all this stuff going on, right? Like you came to me about the BRE thing yesterday. But I know that's not always how people prefer to learn. And so your feedback was very gracious, and I appreciate you giving that going forward. Anybody else have anything to share? Anything that's struggling, something that we can work out together? Or anything?
Can I say something? I would like to tell you that Ignite, the first course was excellent, but this one is even more. And what I'm getting out of it is I just finished this morning finding out how I get more leads, because my leads package is not doing so well. So it's vocabulary. What I do right now, every time we go through something, I made a folder and I study out of the folder. Okay, so this is important, because what Jeff was telling me this morning, title, he said, I was asking him, so I am going to target all this new cold call. And he said, I asked him how much money I have to spend. He said, well, it's how good you are on the phone. And he's right. That's why we're here. We're here because you're teaching us how to be able to, when we have all these new clients in front of us, say, okay, I know what to say. Right. I was taught that. That is why I'm here. Okay. And right now getting the leads is hard. Like today I only had 11 leads, so nothing. So I have to look for a new avenue now. So, and I hope that Ignite Lab 2 will allow me to get to that point where I can really have a very comprehensive, good conversation that allows me to bring in business.
That's fantastic. And you will. And a lot of times we get in and we want to get it fast, and it's getting through the difficult times that make you a stronger agent. So while you're trying to learn, lead, cultivate, know what to say, you're going to make some mistakes in things we say to people, right? But the better we ask questions, the better we're attuned to what's kind of going on, the more we're going to convert, right? Which is the purpose. Because we're not tour guides, right?
We're not tour guides. It's all changing. Yeah, like this morning, I'm calling somebody with a baby crying on the back. So I'm recalling again tonight around after dinner, because I want to get that lead, so I'm just going to do what it takes.
Good for you. I like that. I like that attitude. It's perfect. And it's the right attitude. Be willing to do what it takes, then do what it takes, right? And move forward, right? Because there is no magic pill. And that's going to lead us to the next thing. Somebody else was going to say something? Thought I heard somebody else. Okay, this screen share is not working for some reason. So I'm going to try to stop share down here at the bottom. Oh, there we go. Okay, now it's working. All right, so let me get this to the top. You need to just move this out of the way. There we go. Now I have control again. It's perfect. So let's start with this slide right here. You guys still see my screen, right? So here's the secret to being a successful agent, guys. There's no secret whatsoever. And hopefully we've beat the heck out of that with you guys, right? So here's what a successful agent does every single day. And you have access to all of these slides, right? You have access to all of these slides. And it doesn't mean that there's not different ways to do them and that different agents do them a different way. These are just the things that it takes to do it. So there's two aspects of our business. There's growing our business and running our business. And for those of you that aren't familiar with the 411, the 411 goal setting tracker is designed for you to work on your business. And then there's a section for on your job, right? So on your job is running the business, right? Growing your business is on your business, right? So you're focused on your business and then putting the job details together so that you know what to do daily to maximize your time. So in growing our business, you lead generate for buyers and sellers. And what do you think the number one thing agents do? And we kind of said this on our coaching call the other day. What do you think they stop doing when they start getting busy?
Lead generation.
They stop doing
Growing the business.
Yeah. And why is that? Why do you think that happens most often?
Life happens. It gets hard.
Yeah. We've all got things going on in our lives, you know, there's lots going on in our world right now. There's lots going on and it's really easy to not do. But you want to lead generate for buyers and sellers so often that it feels weird when you don't. Right? If you took that one thing, you could almost fix everything else. Even if you had leads falling through the cracks and you were doing deals because you were lead generating every single day for buyers and sellers. It's that one thing. Make seller listing presentations and get listings. And we talked more about doing listing consultations, right? Doing consultations, asking more questions. And we're going to role play all that stuff. We're going to role play all that stuff, but we're trying not to overwhelm and underwhelm as we go. Make buyer presentations and get listings. If you're working with a buyer in this market and they don't know what to expect, does that make your job easier or harder?
Harder.
Harder. Why does it make it harder, Katya?
Because they have no idea what to expect. They don't know you. They don't know anything. But if you give them information, then when you see, they already know. They have the information.
Excellent. So we're going to consult them so that they have the data and the things that they need so that they're not panicking.
This one's going to be pretty nervous.
Right? You don't want them panicking halfway through the escrow and canceling your escrow. Right?
Yeah.
So making buyer consultations and presentations and get listings. Right? And when they talk about buyer listings, what are they talking about, Duke?
One more time about buyer. It's kind of loud. What was that?
When they're talking about buyer listings, what are they talking about? We were talking about it yesterday.
I guess I didn't get the question. When you're talking about buyer listings.
Okay, it's number 3. So
I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's all right.
Oh, presentation. Oh yeah. I'm sorry. I totally dropped the ball on that one. It's kind of. Let me put on my other earphone because it's kind of hard to hear.
It's okay. It's buyer representation agreements. All right.
Yeah.
Buyer representation agreements is a buyer listing. And we're going to go through all that stuff, right? So you're going to know how to secure one. That's not going to be in the presentation. You're going to know how to secure it. And previewing real estate. It's important to preview every single day. Now, running the business, we've got to market the seller listings now. So you realize how hard your job is when it comes to your commissions, right? How many things you do. So first I got to lead generate to get the client. Then I've got to get the client to get the listing. Then I've got to market the seller listing, right? I've got to put it in the MLS. There's a number of things to do. Second thing with buyers, you got to show buyers houses. And why do you think listings are so important besides the market share? When you talk about seller listings, why are seller listings so important when you're talking about this business other than market share?
I think listings are how you control the market and really how you it's kind of like a force multiplier. You know, you are the epicenter because it's your listing. You'll get the buyers. You'll also help selling. People know of you because you have a product, not just the person that's, you know, driving folks around town. So it's one of those things that it's a multiple.
Could you take 5 listings in a month, 6 listings in a month, and handle phone calls and do all that stuff easier than you could actually show 5 or 6 buyers in a month and get them in contract?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because
So, you know, listing, not buyers. Buyers, not too much work.
yeah, buyers are a lot of work. And yes, buyers are an important part of
Yeah.
our business. But the way you market a seller listing could actually find you the buyer too. So then it kills 2 birds with 1 stone. Right? So seller listings, you can do the same amount of business, you can do more business than you can buyer business. It's just a time on task thing. The third thing, negotiating contracts, that's where it gets, I think that's a fun part of this business. You know, my clients always revered me as a good negotiator. Number 4, transaction management to closing. So now you've got to, in this group, use transaction coordinators because they help us with that. You're going to learn more by doing that. Vendor management. So who's your title people? Who you're going to use for your transaction? Setting goals. So setting goals to run the business every single day. What's important today? Number 7, compliance risk management. The office takes care of that for you, but still making sure that all the paperwork gets back. Right? Compliance risk management, sorry. Attend training and get coaching. And this is number 8, but this is extremely important because there's a training and coaching environment for every day in a real estate agent's business. And you have to decide when you're starting out what the path is, right? What the correct path is to learn the things you need to know to start making money and then manage money, right? So a lot of times there are agents in this business, believe it or not, they'll make, you know, $1 million plus in gross commission income every single year. And they'll spend $1.2, $1.3 million to make it. And they're considered a top producer because they don't manage their money. So it's important, and then their companies give them awards for it, right? So what we want to do though is we want to be great business owners. It's the difference between a realtor, real estate agent, whatever you want to call it, and someone that runs a successful business every day. And good business owners manage money. Okay, so now we're going into defining your value. Okay, we're just going to go through these modules. Define your value, 3 aspects of service, know and state your value, and deliver value. All right, so we're going to go into a roadmap of this. So your value proposition. So what is your value proposition? If you could describe to me what ways you provide value to a real estate client, what would you say?
I create an opportunity.
Yeah, I create opportunities.
Yeah.
Right. There are other things too, and the idea is you want to describe, but you want to be simple. I want you to think of your value proposition as you get into an elevator with somebody, and you might be going to the top floor. And so feasibly, you've got maybe 60 seconds, maybe 90 seconds if you're in a tall building, right? And you overhear somebody in an elevator, because this will happen to you, talking about going to look at property that day or selling their properties or doing something like that. What is your way of conveying to them your value in such a time frame that you could feasibly, once you get to the top floor, have all their information? So when you're thinking about your value proposition, think about it that way as you're growing it.
Hey, Dan.
Yeah.
Got a question for you. I'm gonna put you on the spot real quick. Maybe you can give us your elevator pitch when you were in production, because I'd like to hear what, you know, someone sees in like you. What's your 60-second elevator pitch of value you create for a client? So I'm your client. Could you give me something like that?
Less than 60 seconds. Yeah, absolutely. You know what? I turn around, introduce myself real quick. I don't know if you know this, but I'm a real estate professional in the area. And why my clients choose me is because I'm an excellent negotiator. I'm a great salesperson, and I help clients get the top value for the money they put forward. And what I'd like to do is get your contact information because it sounds like you're in the market to sell your home. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah.
Excellent, excellent. So what's the best way to reach you?
You can call me on my cell.
Okay, well, what are you doing right now? You can go down to the lobby and have a quick coffee?
You know what? Actually, that'll work.
Okay, excellent. So it doesn't have
nice.
to be, you see how succinct it is?
Yeah.
And did you hear why my clients like to use me?
Hmm.
Right? So a value proposition is not, I do this, 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 and this. It's here's why my clients like and prefer to use me.
I can tell you practice this once or twice in your life.
If it's a buyer, I'm doing the same thing. And why my clients choose to use me is I get them excellent properties at the best possible price. And a lot of my investors end up cash flowing in the first year.
Yeah.
Can we go down the stairs and have a cup of coffee sometime today or tomorrow? Because we don't know how long they're in town, right? So it's just your ability to articulate your value in a short period of time. But thanks for putting me on the spot, dude. I need a challenge once in a while. So that works.
All right. Spice it up.
All right. So clearly, step 2 is to clearly convey what you will do to earn the fee you charge. So in this, when we're providing value to someone, it's about what is a benefit to them, right? So when Keller Williams says we provide the best value to agents when it comes to education, training, technology, and resources, is that about Keller Williams or is it about the value that it provides you?
It's the value that provides me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because the value always depends on the client.
Yeah.
And the agents are business partners and clients at the same time, right? So it always depends on the value you add. And then your covenant, make your value proposition a covenant between you and the client. And you can add something like, you know what, if you use me, I promise you're going to get the highest level of skilled negotiation service and go through a seamless transaction with no surprises. How does that sound?
Nice.
Know that by just conveying your value. Again, was that about the client or was that about myself?
The client.
Client. Absolutely. So that's 100% of the time. Any quick questions on this?
No.
So how will having prepared your value proposition help you move from leads to contract to closed? How do you think that'll help you?
A lot.
Yeah, it'll be a lot. But more specifically, how do you specifically think it'll help you? Do people like specific information?
Yeah, because it's telling you exactly what you can expect. You have all the numbers in front of you. Now you just have to make a decision.
Exactly. And they're going to hold you to your value proposition as you grow, right? They're going to hold you to your value proposition. And over time, it's going to help you grow your database. Because there's nothing better than when a potential buyer or seller tells your value proposition to somebody else. And you articulate it the same way. And they will if you do this well enough. Okay, the next aspect. So so defining your value leads directly in 3 aspects of service as we go through. So the first is the purpose. So when we're defining this, know the underlying purpose of the real estate profession, which is to help people do what?
Move.
Help people move, right?
Yeah.
Help them
Move.
create life change. Now, does anybody on this really love moving?
No.
Who loves anybody have a truck a long time ago and you were the guy or girl that everybody asked to help them move? I was. So when it comes down to it, know the underlying purpose of the real estate profession. Your value is created through the service. Know the difference between the tools, right? So the tools are the MLS. The tools are my website. The tools are my card, right? Your value proposition and the tools they don't necessarily cross over each other. Very rarely will you see that, right? So helping people negotiate contracts that's not a tool I use, that's a skill I have, and that's a value I add. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Understand whether or not what you have is a tool or what you have is an actual value. Okay. Value. Step 2, your value proposition. Have and communicate a clear sense of how you deliver on that purpose. So you're going to have and communicate a clear sense of how you deliver on that purpose. Most transactions will fall out because of the vague, of the unknowns, of the things that are not, the things that just don't make a lot of sense. Right? And a good consult on top of a good value proposition, man, you're just knocking it out of the park. Right? But you getting people to meet with for a consult is part of your fiduciary. Step 3, fiduciary. Exhibit a continual drive to put your client's needs above all else. Here's what that does not mean, right? It does not mean that you need to work with somebody that makes it feel like every day is torture for you. You do not need to do that. There are ways of getting out of agreements. There are ways of getting out of places where your value proposition is not appreciated. Because here's the bad news, guys. Not everybody is going to appreciate your individual value proposition. People want different things, right? Great questions that I love to ask people, and this isn't a KPA, this is not my own, are how does someone win with you? How does someone lose with you? Right? Get into their world and help them see that you're a fiduciary. You're someone that connects the dots. You're not going to act on behalf of them. You're not going to jump in and help them solve all their worldly problems. You just want to help them connect the dots in the most valuable way possible. And you'll get plenty of reviews. That I promise.
Dan,
Yeah.
can you expand upon that question of like how does someone win and how does someone lose with you? Is that as your client, or is it kind of like you yourself telling the client, hey, this is how we win and this is how I deal with my losses? Maybe you can expand on that.
I lean more towards like, and it's going to hit some people in a tactical way. I might ask somebody, how does someone win with you? And they might say, providing the best possible service. And I'm going to go deeper. What does that mean to you? And then I'm going to use all that data that they gave me to function a value proposition or to put together a value proposition that's going to deliver all of those things in a way that they didn't realize they just told.
Got it.
Does that make sense? So you're not, and sometimes how does someone win with you? Well, they need to be honest with me. Okay. So someone would lose with you by being dishonest with you. Yes. Okay.
Makes sense.
Now I know honesty is a value that they have. So you can learn your client's values before you actually establish a value proposition. Right? But it'll start coming into your language. But your goal is to be a fiduciary and consistently strive to adapt to those needs. And if it's not something you're willing to do or something you value, it might be a misalignment. Right? To be prepared for that. Be prepared that every client is not going to be your ideal client. Because I'll tell you, the one client that will suck the life out of you will take a lot more time, a lot more energy, a lot more stress, and they might still back out. Where you could have been doing what?
Prospecting.
You could have been
Leads
prospecting.
generation. Yeah.
You could have been.
Yeah.
You could have missed like 7 really great clients, or working with one jackass. Right, but you get the opportunity to choose who that person is. All right.
Dan, that probably takes time though, right? You just got to go through the motions to be able to get a sense and feel for things. It seems like a lot of the seasoned folks, they can kind of smell when something is good, something is not, versus people like me just come in and I'm like, I have no idea which is which. Is that something that comes with time? I mean,
it does. In understanding how to provide value to different people, right? There's 2 main people in this business. There's good people with challenges, and then there's challenging people. And what's the difference between the 2?
Well, the challenging people are very hard to work with because they don't know where they're going. But the one that likes to be challenged, they're the one that you can give opportunities and they may take it.
Absolutely. So like good people with challenges are just good people that don't understand what's going on.
Yeah.
And so part of our value proposition going in, Duke, is that we can explain how we work up front, right? Part of our value proposition is explain why we're of value to them going forward. So when Gary Keller was researching for the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, he noted that every top producing agent he spoke with had a deep and almost inherent sense of service. You won't hear many people say they have a bad sense of service. You cannot grow a real estate business if you don't prioritize your client's experience above all else. A stellar experience is how you earn your commission and get referrals. Satisfactory service is just enough to not get you sued. Right? So if I really want to provide value, my value proposition has to put that together. So now we go to what is the purpose? What is the underlying purpose of real estate? It's different for buyers and sellers. So for buyers, it's about finding them the right home at the best price in the right time with the least amount of problems. Right? It's about finding it the best. It's about finding them the right home at the best price in the right time with the least amount of problems. For sellers, it's about netting them the most amount of money in the shortest amount of time with the least amount of problems. What was the same thing in both of those? See, the most congruent one is the least amount of problems.
Least amount of problems. Oh.
Yeah. So we want to make sure that we're doing this all together. So what happens to your client's buying or selling experience if you don't understand that this is the underlying purpose of real estate? What happens?
Well, you don't look like a professional and they feel your insecurities.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. They don't have to go through the traumas that some real estate agents, actually, I would say most real estate agents actually put people through. Our job is not to look good and be right. Our job is to serve people to the highest level with the least amount of problems on their end. And if you give somebody a great experience, they'll come back to you again and again and again. That doesn't mean they'll do it without reminder. You still need to remind them sometimes. We want to provide them the best possible experience with the least amount of hassles and trouble. I think I beat that up enough. So now we're going to go through the difference between a functionary and a fiduciary. This is the third and final aspect of service is fiduciary. So what is a fiduciary and how is it different than a functionary? Who knows the answer to that?
No.
A fiduciary is a legal right to do what's in the best interest of their client. I'm not sure what a functionary is. Just probably just go through the process of it, and you don't have any legal obligation. Just winging that one. Yeah.
No, thanks for answering it. You're very, very accurate on that. So fiduciary is both an adjective and a noun, right? It says as an adjective, it refers to do something dealing with trust, especially relationships, right? To have fiduciary duty to your clients to protect their best interests during what will likely be the largest and most frightening transaction in their life, right? To protect them. So as real estate professionals, we're fiduciaries. What is an example of maybe a real estate company that is a functionary?
I would say like, what about like maybe new build properties, like new communities? Is that considered functionary?
Yeah, absolutely. Because, yeah, that's a great one. New home community. People are walking in, they're order taken. They make a salary. Right? What else? Somebody else I think spoke.
What about like escrows? Even though, yeah, they're protecting both parties, but they're supposed to be an unbiased party that transacts based upon a contract, right? They're just an intermediary. Would that be minus the client part where you actually have a buyer and a seller?
Exactly. And they don't operate in a fiduciary aspect, really. They operate in a functionary because, well, that's both true and not true because they have no bias, but they have to operate from instruction directly from the buyers and sellers.
Yeah, we take those two out of the equation, and that would be functionary, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Good question. Okay, so now know and state your value. So this next section is about knowing and stating your value as we go through this. So what buyers want. So in the 2018 profile of home buyers and sellers, it's like 52% of them wanted help finding the right home to purchase. So that's what they wanted. 14% help buyers negotiate the terms of the sale. Right? Help buyers negotiate the terms of the sale. 11%, they wanted help with price negotiation. Right? And then whatever the other is, there's probably another 23%, a series of other things. Why is it important to know the data on home buyers and sellers?
That's
Just-
how you come. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Go ahead, Katya.
Oh, that's okay. I would say it's because you get to the most accurate price that you should advertise if it is a dwelling, a home.
Yeah, and why else?
I think to add on to what Katya said, just for example, if you're overcoming an objection as to why they should list with you, you at least know your current numbers from the past how many years. Like, for example, this one's 2018. You can just say like, oh, I would be a great listing agent for you because I can help you negotiate. And this is like the percentage of what, sellers want or look for, I think.
Well, could you shape your value proposition if you knew what most buyers wanted? Would you rather build a value proposition out of what more buyers and sellers wanted than what less?
Even if she loses money?
Oh no, she loses money at 9:30, but her low.
So we go back to the script, right? And my question is this. Katya, the way my clients like using me, because first of all, I help them find the right home to purchase. That's the biggest thing. It's a huge investment for you. Second thing is I'm great at helping them, and that's not even the right way to say it. They tell me that I negotiate the best terms of sale. Are any of those two things important to you?
Yes,
Awesome.
both of them. I agree. I would like have an agent that does that for me.
So you can take the top two, you can take the top three, but the data is there so that you know how to appeal in a value proposition to the most amount of buyers and sellers. And this is NAR, so this is National Association of Realtors. So we're taking a big pool of people across many states, right? But you can this is a great tool to start building your value propositions. Any questions on that? We're getting into some meat now. All right, here we go. 2018 profile of home buyers and sellers with National Association of Realtors. The majority of them wanted an agent with a good reputation. Why is that important to a buyer, do you think?
Well, because people wanted to work with somebody that has a good reputation. I don't want to go to a bad doctor, do you? When I look for a new doctor, I'm just going to look at somebody. So the same thing for an agent. I want an agent that has a good reputation.
Okay. Let me ask you this, Katya. So if you were representing a seller and you're a real estate agent and you're representing a seller, and I'm an agent in the area with a bad reputation, and I bring you an offer from my buyers, are you less apt to strongly negotiate my offer with the sellers, or are you more apt to push my offer?
No, because I know all the bad real estate in my town and I know I'm going to have to deal with them. I'm okay. It's just a personality. I don't care.
But your clients, if you're representing the listing agent, the reason a buyer would want to work with somebody with a good reputation, and a lot of times this doesn't even come up, but this is part of your value proposition. My clients like to work with me because I have one of the best reputations in the area, and sellers choose my offers over others.
That's nice. I like that.
Because the agent, if they trust their agent, they're going to trust their advice, right? And while no agent's going to pick that, they're not going to pick the offer and the agent doesn't sign the offer, the seller makes the choice. But if I have a good reputation and a good rapport with that listing agent, I know that that listing agent has more rapport with the seller. So
Yep.
why wouldn't I use that to my benefit by having a good reputation? So remember, let them know the importance of having a good reputation. There's agents out here that have a really hard time getting their offers accepted, and they think it's the market. It's not always the market. Sometimes it's their reputation. Like Katya just said, she already knows of some.
Yeah.
Right? And they'll have to do 10 times the work you're going to have to do. 19, agent is honest and trustworthy. That should be a given. Agent is friend or family member. Look at how little that number is. 15% used an agent because they were a friend or family member. 31% used them because of their reputation and honesty. So when people say things like everybody knows a real estate agent, that's 100% not true. Everybody might know of one. Many people might know of one from all the junk mail they get. But remember, it's not as much on the friend or family member side. Agents' knowledge of the neighborhood, that's also a very small thing. So when you guys are out there and you're thinking you have to know everything about the community and all the things around it, the best script ever is, you know what? Let me verify that, because I don't want to give you the wrong information. It didn't say I didn't know. I just said it might have changed. And before I even speak and just give you something that's just to make me look good, I'm going to go do my research and get back to you. Might have changed. Make sense? Okay.
I just wanted to tell you that that is so important, and you will gain a lot of business if you're able to do that. I did in all my past businesses. When you have the courage to say, you know, because you don't know, let me verify and get back to you, and you do, that's really good.
It's powerful. It's and they
Yeah.
don't have any less respect for you.
And I think
Exactly.
to add on to what Katya said, I think you could also, because I've thought about that, what you said, Dan, but you could also say, like, let me get updated information for you because it's always changing.
Fantastic.
So that's
I
something
like yours.
that I
Exactly.
thought
Yeah.
about.
Thumbs up.
I actually like yours better, Russell.
Yeah, me too.
You got the wheels turning. I love it.
But thank you. But that's basically, I just say that when I really don't know the answer. So,
Yeah. You know, that's a great thing to say. I learned something today.
thank you.
So, any questions on that before we jump on to what sellers want? So what sellers want? 2018 profiled home buyers and sellers. They want somebody that will help the seller market home to the potential buyers. Right? So what kind of stats could you have or could you use to show that you get the most people that are looking at their buyers? Especially if you don't have your own stat that are looking at their home. Especially if you don't have your own stats to start with.
Sorry, can you repeat that, Dan?
Yeah. If you're helping the seller market the home to potential buyers, what statement could you use? Like if you didn't have your own numbers, what statement could you use to show them that you have the most eyeballs that will see their property the second it's listed?
That you work for the largest brokerage in the nation?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Even more specifically, you know, we have over 180,000 agents nationwide, Mr. Seller or Mrs. Seller. And do you realize your buyer or seller most likely isn't going to come from here? So would you prefer to use an agent that has the largest reach in their marketing, or do you want to use the local area expert that thinks your buyer is going to come here from here? I've won more listings from that script than anything else because they didn't understand the difference. The local area expert in a farm, well, so-and-so sells a lot of houses around here. Well, that's great. But wouldn't it be great to expose your home to 180,000 other sales associates across the globe that might have more buyers for your home instead of just one? Right? Because we want to get multiple offers. That's when you're a hero. You're bringing 50 offers to the table and they're looking at you and going like, wow, you're an amazing marketer. And in this last market, did we have to be an amazing marketer to get a lot of offers? Not really.
Not
You had a
really.
listing
Not
and you
really.
could-
No.
So the
Low
second,
inventory. No.
help price home competitively. So they want a competitive price for their home. It doesn't say high, it doesn't say low, but they want to help price the home competitively. And what is the competition when it comes to a listing? We were just working on this 2 times ago in the coaching.
Comparables?
Comparables, right?
Yeah.
Active
Yeah.
comparables,
Active.
right?
What up
Here's-
closed?
You use closed comparables to put a price on the house, but
Oh,
you
okay.
want to show them competitively where they're at in the market.
Okay. True.
The third one, help sell home within a specific time frame. This will become more of a big deal. As the market starts to change, people will be moving for more intense reasons if they're going to move. So help them sell within a specific time frame. And then help find the buyer for the home. A lot of real estate agents don't realize that their job as a listing agent is to help find the buyer for the home. Not put it in the MLS and let it go. And in fact, I used to get very upset if my team did not find the buyer for the home. Because who knows the most about the property? If you're the
You,
listing agent.
because you're the selling. Yeah, you.
Yeah,
You, the listing agent.
you should know the most about it, right? You should know the most. So and then help to find a buyer for the home, help with negotiation and dealing with buyers. But do you guys see the things sometimes we focus on when we focus on like, I don't know how to, don't know how to negotiate this, or this. When you look at the stats, it's one of the lowest things people ask for, even though it's important. And who knows, it might have changed in 2020, but typically they don't post a lot of statistics that change so much, right? So, and we'll find that out obviously later. What sellers value? So look at this number. So these numbers are a little closer, right? So 16% valued the reputation of the agent. 19% that the agent is honest and trustworthy, right? 14% that the agent is a friend or family member. And then the last was the agent's experience, about 16% was the agent's experience. And then 35%, so this is what's curious, 35% is other. So it'd be interesting to find out what that other is in your local neighborhood or in your local farm. And how could you find that out? How could you find out what's important to your farm or your database?
I would say, I'm not sure if it's right, but looking at what properties sold for and how quickly. So maybe you can determine like, oh, this is a popular area, popular street, it sold quickly or it didn't.
Yeah, you can ask them, right? You can ask potential sellers. You can ask your database, hey, what if you were selling your home, Mr. or Mrs. Seller? And these are great database calls to make because it's not like, hey, are you selling your home right now? But if you were selling a home, what are the top 3 things that you value the most about the agent that you choose? What's the most important thing? What's the second most important thing? Like I'd ask you for a third, what would it be? So you can learn from your database as well how to best serve them. Right? So the research is there so that you can just compare, right? Did they say the reputation's the most? The agent is honest and trustworthy, agent expertise? What was the research? The next step, who are your competitors? So as we've gone through significant changes over the last several years, there have been competitors that have come into the business, left the business, new ones come in every single day. So if you have a marketing community or you have a database that's in a specific niche, who are your competitors? So if I'm picking a farm, I'm going to pick a farm with a minimum of a 6% turnover. I'm going to start with 1,000 people, and I'm going to figure out who rocks that area. Who is the person that is dominant in that area? And then if I really love the farming community and its turnover, I'm going to start chipping away at that business. I know on the meeting the other day and stuff, it was different. It was like, don't go into the farm with the biggest person in the farm, but realize even agents get locked up in hubris where they feel they've arrived. There are so many agents that tell me they're dominant in a community, and year over year, I watch their numbers trickle down because people get complacent. And I also know that people love energy, good energy. So if I come in and I'm the new kid and they're curious about me and I'm starting to chip away at market share in that community and I'm just dominating it for all my right value propositions, then I'm going to win. And I get to be in the community that I want. Now, I'm not going to get 100% market share. No one does. It's just how much market share can I get and then expand outward. So who are your competitors? Really do some studies on who's rocking it. And some of you drive by the signs in your communities and you might see, you know, a couple Monica Carr signs, or you might see a Tim Morissette sign, or you might see, you know, some Michael May signs back to back, and realize that they just put the time in. That's all they did. But how can we use our resources nowadays? Because if they've been the dominant person for 30 years there, then how can we use our resources and technology and features that they don't have to bring to the table to enhance your book of business in a quicker time frame? Because the market share I'm seeing taken over is happening a lot quicker. It's not a gradually then suddenly thing as much as we think it is. It's just a concentrated effort. So the next step, technology. This company is committed to adding to your value proposition. So that means adopting and using the technology as much as you can. And we don't want you to be a technology person, but how do you use the technology to attract people? So someone came to me the other day and they're like, Dan, I really don't like the website. And I said, well, what don't you like about the website? And they're like, there's very little customization that you can do. But what is the #1 property search site other than Redfin?
Zillow.
Zillow,
Yeah.
#1 property search real estate site. Now, if you looked at your website and you went to Zillow and you did the same functions, it would operate exactly the same, except your website is updated more frequently. Right? So how do I use my website? And it's super generic, and that's what you want. People prefer anonymity, right? They don't want everybody knowing what their business is. But if they start doing a lot of research on there, you get to see who's looking at your site and tracking that data. And if they have questions, because it looks so anonymous, they might even ask a question. And it syncs up with your app. So a lot of things to learn about the technology. I'm definitely not the expert on it, but we send people to training here so that they can be the expert and better serve you. So use it. It's available to you. Okay, so this is an activity that I want you guys to create before your next Ignite session, is to use the tools here. And for those of you that downloaded the book so that you can kind of follow it along, it has an activity guide to help you create a value proposition. So as you, between now and the next time, what would you say if you heard someone in a restaurant, because they call them realtor ears, right? You're sitting down at a restaurant and you hear somebody say, I'm thinking about buying a house. And no one else heard it but you, right? So it's like a dog whistle for us, right? But if we immediately have our value proposition ready and locked again, it's easier to go over and have the conversation. Listen, I don't want to take much of your time, and I wanted to introduce myself, and I overheard you saying that you were looking to buy a house. Value proposition, try to connect for an appointment. People will honor that, and they'll look surprised. And that's good, because you're honoring their time by just saying, I overheard you, and I'm a real estate professional in the area, and my clients choose to use me because of X, Y, and Z. Are these 3 things important to you? No, they're not. Okay, what's most important to you? I would love to get together for some coffee and chat about it. Right? But you're just using track record, and use your own value structure to create what your clients love about you. If you're honest, great negotiator, hard worker, whatever it is, those are all values. So what are you using? The next step is to actually deliver the value. So now that you have, once you get a unique value proposition, the next step is to actually deliver that value. Right? I've had agents that do tell me, like, say, hey, I'm really honest and I'm really hardworking, and I never see them working. Right? I never see them working. And so not only are they not working, but they lied about how they're a hard worker, and so now they're not even not honest. Right? So, and things happen in life, and your ability to succeed regardless of a divorce, death, of things that are going around, of all the bombs that go off in your world, your ability to keep a regimented schedule is what's going to make or break you in the business. And to do the most important things. So are you delivering the value that you state? Because if it's incongruent, you're going to know pretty quick by your pipeline. Make sense? Did I lose everybody? It's only an hour.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Katya's still here. That's good.
Makes sense.
Awesome, Russell. Thank you. I know you guys are up in that busy room, so that's why I'm keeping you so engaged today. It's like you're going to ask them lots of questions so I know they're listening. I don't like the dark screens. All right, so distinguish yourself with the information you know. So a value proposition isn't just something you say, it's something you deliver on. Now that you're able to explain your value, how do you apply it? What kinds of knowledge are you expected to have? What kinds of knowledge would truly set you apart from your competition? So like Gary Keller says, think competitively and strategically as one of the most foundational aspects. When I have a real estate agent that's got a sign in my farm, I want to take them out. I am a capitalist at the heart, right? I want to take them, I want to make sure that another sign does not go in that yard. What can set me apart? Right? So we're trying to figure out what's going to really set us apart. You should also have and exercise more general market knowledge, including what type of market you're in, what direction it's moving, interest rates and trends, et cetera, right? So all of those things. People want to know where the market is moving. And can we use our data to actually say, this is the trend of the market? Now, here's the thing. They're never going to say, oh, you're wrong. Right? Or they're not going to come back to you 60 days later and say, you didn't project that right. And if they do, you go, look, all I know is from the data I receive, projected trends. They want to know what you think about the market going. No one cares about your just solds. And I tell people this all the time. They know what just sold. If you're any kind of neighbor, you know what just sold in the community. You might not know how much, you might not even care. But if I can't search that in an anonymous way, then I'm not playing ball. Right? So distinguish yourself with the information you know. And then constantly growing and keeping your expertise. And there's a whole activity section for this. What do you need to know? What don't you know that you don't know to ask to know? Right? Where are you unconsciously incompetent? That's not a bad thing. It's like, look, I don't know what to know how to, I am unconsciously incompetent about technology at times. And I have to have the tech guy come in and go, this is what's coming in my brain. Can you explain it back to me in my language? All right. How do I get to know this so that I can be great at it? Next step is to create a stellar experience. And we're going to go just a couple minutes over, but I think we're almost done here. So with the service you provide, create a stellar experience with the service you provide. What does it look like to you to be well represented by someone? Who do you know that's in your atmosphere that provides an amazingly stellar experience? Who do you know? And then go take them to coffee and ask them what they do. Ritz-Carlton, one of the top hotel chains known for excellent service. They put on webinars and classes, and some of them are very expensive. Some of them are almost free or really cheap. So if I want to provide a stellar experience, I want to find out what the people in my environment are doing to provide that stellar experience. Don't go into business with anybody. Find the people that are amazing, because when you give your clients to them, they're going to take stellar care of them, and you have confidence in that. It becomes your community of leverage as you move forward. Okay, we're going to do recap and ahas. So here's some creative things. Everybody knows what an aha stands for?
Yes, we've seen opera for a long time. Haha.
Aha,
Okay,
yeah.
fly. Yes.
Agents helping agents, right? Agents helping agents. So, and that's what we're really all about. So what are some of the ahas? What are some of your takeaways? Because if you hide it, you're not helping everybody.
I would say my aha for today's meeting is that I think what you said about if you see a sign in your farm, take out that person and just see what they did to get that sale. And that goes back to reputation, because that's what sellers and buyers want. Obviously, they want someone who works hard, but if you have a good reputation with other agents, it will benefit you in the long run.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
I would say my aha was the competition part, where you would find out your competition and see how you can provide more to a client, even though you lack experience, which is something I've always been thinking about.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, it's really beneficial. And even if it's a farming community and you're like, man, this guy takes a lot of listings around here. If I'm calling around or I'm circle prospecting and I'm just doing a survey, just out of curiosity, it seems like Katya is the top listing agent over in this area and sells a lot of homes. If you were to list your home, would you use Katya, and why?
Yeah.
And you're not saying bad things about each other. What you're trying to do is just say, look, I do my market research. Right? And then you can always put them in your database. So that's a great one, Matt. What else?
Thank you.
I really liked the praise that you as an individual, you have to learn what is your value proposition. So just keep putting that into our head and rehearse it and really get to that point where it comes out spontaneously.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's great. Anybody else? I lost you guys. All right. Okay, so last step is building daily successful habits. So remember, the goal of this is to add 10 contacts a day, right? Add 10 contacts a day. So before this call or after this call, and the only reason we don't have it from 9 to 12 is to protect your lead generation time. Because that's when you're fresh. That's when people's days haven't been destroyed typically yet. That's when they're going to be nicer to you. There's a method to the madness. Have 10 conversations a day. Do you know in Bold, they have you do 20 conversations a day, and then they added another 20 text messages, right? So have 10 conversations a day, right? And it could be anybody about, as long as it's about real estate. Buy the person behind you at Starbucks a cup of coffee and just say, hey, I'm a real estate professional in the area. I'd really like to get to know you. Do you know anybody thinking of buying or selling a house? Here, I bought your coffee. Do you have a business card? How long do you think it would take you to talk to 10 people in a Starbucks line? If they were actually really open, I guess. And not right?
Yeah.
Hey, Dan, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, yeah. I just have a quick question about the seller lead generation. I noticed right now there's some people are thinking about moving, whether it's moving more affordable area or even out of state. And I was wondering how we approach this kind of seller, or are we kind of provide them the service of like give them like the options? Because I know right now the inventory is really tight and the demand is still strong. And I just want to see your opinion of how we approach this kind of seller, whether they are moving to a more affordable area, or downsizing, or they have 100% or 100% equity in the home and they wanted to diversify.
Okay. So let's start with the moving out of state thing. So let's role play this. You be the seller. Hey,
Okay.
Jeffrey, just out of curiosity, what's making you move out of state?
Thinking, because right now I got a lot of appreciation in my home. I'm thinking if I can probably buy more elsewhere, and yeah, and maybe put some house to the rental property.
So what I'm hearing you say is that the value in your home is very important to your goals of moving out of state. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay, excellent, excellent. So you probably want to maximize as much money as possible from your home. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. And do you know what happens, Jeffrey, when somebody when more competition comes onto the market? What typically happens to the pricing of homes when you have more inventory coming on?
More inventory is gonna put the price pressure downward.
Yeah, it's going to push your prices down a little bit, right? So if there was a time to sell your home, like now, that would net you the most and help you get to your goals regardless of the timing of those particular goals, would you be interested in hearing more about that?
Yeah, I would love to know more.
Okay, great. Why don't we set up a time to meet? I have Wednesday at 3 o'clock or Thursday at 4 o'clock. What time works better for you?
Thursday will be good.
Thursday? Okay, excellent, excellent. So what I want to do, did you see what I did there?
Yeah.
I took that person's goals. I took your goals and we turned it around. And we said, listen, he wants his equity because he wants to go do something with it. Now, if he said, hey, that's not the most important, I really want to move in 6 months, then you got to get into the motivation of like, what is significant about 6 months to you?
Right. There's some of them there is kind of like wait and see what's gonna happen. If we're kind of in them more couple months down the road, or just right now. So it's really like an education process.
So let me ask you, let's go back into role play. So Jeffrey, so you wanna wait and see what happens. Have you ever waited to see what happens and missed out on a very opportunistic time or thing that you wanted?
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah. So how will you know when it happens?
Sometimes kind of miss the boat.
Yeah. So sometimes you know what happens when you miss the boat, right? Now, Jeffrey, I don't want you to miss the boat. So it's really important that we meet, because I think you'd be causing yourself a big disservice by waiting 6 months. Do you have time Wednesday at 3 or Thursday at 4?
Yes, Wednesday, as soon as possible.
Okay, excellent. Now you're fearful, right? You're fearful because people know they miss opportunities because they already missed them.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you didn't vote last year, you missed your chance. Right? So no matter what you feel, it's done, right? The same thing happens here. Right? You miss out on good deals aren't abundant usually. They're going to come along and you've got to kind of do your diligence fast. So did that help you role playing it a little bit?
Yes, it definitely helps. And I recently I was on the other seminars, and one thing I noticed is that some of the agent from the state or from out of state, they are really working with relocation specialists. Okay. So I think those kind of the person, they really have a front line, like gatekeeper of what's the seller they're looking to, and where they're living right now in the States. I think that's really a good source of leads, especially seller leads for that. I mean, for us to really dig into it, to get to more conversation with the seller.
I think you're absolutely right. I think there's so many good sources for leads right now. I think we're going to miss out on some opportunities if we're not pushing the pedal down pretty hard. Right?
Agreed.
There's more opportunities than there's lack thereof right now.
Definitely.
So have 10 conversations a day. None of this is hard. And let's say somebody told me, you know what, I don't want to talk to you about real estate. Okay, that's fine. You're not my client. I'm just going to go in another direction. most people will be pretty good with these conversations. 10 handwritten notes a day. I don't know who's doing their 10 handwritten notes, but this is something that leaves a lingering impact on people. If you think they remember you 10 minutes after you talk to them, you're probably wrong, right? So the handwritten note is, I talk to you, and then 2 days later, I get a note just saying what a wonderful conversation you had with me, and you look forward to staying in touch. I know there's physical activity, you're gonna get a hand cramp, but 10 personal notes a day. When's the last time you got one? Right? So this is something that most people overlook during Ignite, and this is something that probably shouldn't be overlooked. And then 10 home previews per week. Right now, that's a little bit difficult, but if you can figure out a way to do it, great. Be resourceful. Figure out how to set that stuff up. Any thoughts, questions, and concerns? Sorry, guys, we went a little bit over, but there was a lot of content today.
Yeah, no, it was very good. Thank you.
I have one quick question. It's kind of small. It goes back to the negotiation topic we went over about the buyers and sellers, how you can provide really good negotiations.
Right.
But if the seller or buyer asks, what is your method of negotiation? But as a new agent, how would you respond to that?
Well, first I'm going to ask them more because that's a vague question, right?
Okay.
So by method, could you tell me a little bit more what you mean by that?
Okay, then they'll probably say, how do you negotiate for the best price?
Oh, fantastic. Are you talking about how to get the best price for your home with the other agent
Yes.
you're talking about?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Okay, excellent. So one of the things that we do, and we really specialize in, is we ask a lot of good questions. We get a lot of clarity and we learn what the seller wants, right? Because do you believe that some sellers would be probably willing to sell for a little less if they've got better terms?
I would say that, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So my clients choose me because I get better prices and the sellers get better terms. Are you okay with that?
Yes.
Okay. Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that really helped. Thank you.
And that's just one. There's so many
there's a lot.
ways. But when you come back with another question, now they have to explain themselves.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you, Dan.
Yeah, my pleasure. All right, guys. Thank you for allowing me to be your instructor today on this. And if you guys have any thoughts, questions, concerns, whatever you need, you know I'm here for you. So don't hesitate.
Thank you for taking the time.
Real quick, Dan, are you in the office right now?
I am in the office. I have an appointment in just a couple minutes with Brett. Actually,
Okay.
But after that, if you want to chat for a few minutes, I'll be here.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to grab you offline, just take a look at this buyer contract.
Oh yeah, sure. And
Yeah.
I didn't receive an email from you, so I don't know.
Honestly, I don't even know how to send it. That's the problem.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
why.
I just wanted to
Sorry
make sure
about
you
that.
didn't send it to me and I missed something. So
No,
all right,
no.
perfect.
Okay.
I'm here.
Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, guys.